Oh, it's High Priestess Jamila. So this is not necessarily an official reading because I always read with my cards. So I'm just talking right now. Um, but I've been seeing a lot. It's so heartbreaking what happened over there in Shreveport, Louisiana. All of those babies. The community over in Louisiana, they should know how to see all those souls to the other side. I don't just have random spirits show up over here. I got enough of my own I'm dealing with. But I wanted to come and speak on it because I've been seeing people ask the question, was he possessed? Shamar Elkins. And the answer is yes, he was possessed. Apparently not possessed enough because you do that to your own children and you might as well just take your own self out. And he's still alive. I would have liked to have seen him go too, but a lot of people don't think that way because they like, oh, now he got to face his justice, and then the taxpayers are gonna have to take care of him and pay for his execution. So whatever. That was not only a possession, but it was a curse, a really fucked up curse on that whole family. Somebody hated them children. Somebody hated them children. Somebody hated her. Somebody hated him. Was it somebody that they knew? Possibly. That's the details that I ain't looking into right now. But it should be a cautionary tale. The one thing that I noticed about the video that I watched about it, because somebody went into detail, one of the videos that I watched about it, they went into detail about her social media posts. That lady, the one that I think she's still fighting for her life, the mother, that luckily she's still alive. I mean, a gunshot wound to a 1 year old or a baby is going to have more of a devastating effect than an older person, you know. It's a cautionary tale. Number one, quit posting everything to social media. So when I was looking, because I wanted to know more about Shamar, I wanted to know more about him. And what I wanted to know was his date of birth. And for some reason, that hasn't been posted yet. Please post his date of birth so we can look into more of who he is, because while there's a lot of skeptics about astrology, and it's not to point at any specific zodiac sign or anything, because but it is interesting to know what his zodiac sign is and just more about who he is. But anyway, as I was searching for that, I saw another post that the mother had made in social media years ago, apparently to where she was maybe predicting or calling on this egregious act to happen. I haven't read the details of that either because I don't plan on being here long because I gotta get the rest of the readings up on TikTok. Um, but even though my spidey senses is telling me that somebody that knew them, but then again, there's people in social media that you just randomly friend on your Facebook that think they know you. That they're like, I know you. We're either friends or enemies. That's the unfortunate reality of social media. But when you post everything to social media, every thought, Everything, just every little detail about everything that you're feeling, you're thinking. You know, you would think that people think that social media is God, and it's not. Go talk to God. People post way too much detail in social media. So, what can that do? That can open you up, and it makes you weaker when you just post everything, everything to social media. You know, especially when you got adversaries in social media, people know what you're thinking. People know what you ate that day. People know, you know, and you got to have protection to do all that. And clearly, there was no protection. There was, people will say what they want to say, but for that to happen, no, it was something was subpar on that. You know what I mean? But she was posting everything, you know, all this negative stuff. And then finally, they got married on her birthday. You never know who it was. First of all, there's a lot of unhinged men out there that are looking in social media. There are a lot of unhinged women out there. Literally, they don't have to know you. They don't have to know your man. You post that you getting married and you happy, and then you getting married on your birthday. Them bitches are gonna be jealous. Hey, Stefan, they gonna be jealous. And a lot of people ain't right in the head. Stop doing that. And then somebody like me, they suppress and oppress my messages. For example, I've been talking about the incubi and the succubi. Those make up for probably 70 to 80% of the egregious shit that's happening is incubuses and succubuses. Okay. So a lot of people have those entities that are either attached to them really bad in a bad way, or they are trying to attach to them, looking for a doorway in. So you can't just go without some kind of protection, especially, but even if you got protection, you don't post every little detail, especially about your man. Today's Wednesday, Stefan. Yep, I'm pretty sure today's Wednesday, but happy Wednesday. Happy Tuesday to you too. You don't just go posting everything to social media. And that's just so unfortunate. There's a video that I saw on TikTok and I shared it, I reposted it. Them beautiful babies, all them babies gone like that. That's so sad, man. It's surreal. It's one of those bad, but in a bad way. You know how when something good happens and it just seems surreal, but you know at first, but you know that's gonna take that community a lot to process it. And unfortunately, when you hear about stuff like that in the news, you got to have your protection up, because whatever entity, and a lot of people say, well, it was just the devil. Okay. Whatever entity that wanted all those souls is still roaming around, and the entity is probably still inhabiting his body. Then if his weak ass dies in custody, everybody gonna be crying for him too. Oh, the police ain't right, and he done died in custody, and he done did this. Thank you, Hecate. I love my neighbors, the neighbors' dogs. They are so cool because they be giving me confirmation. You hear that dog howling? Oh, goodness gracious. Uh yeah, that's so unfortunate. Not only was that dude possessed, but that was also a curse specifically targeted at that particular family. Like I said, I probably will never divulge all of the details. I don't really discuss things in social media. Look, there goes a squirrel. A bird done went by, done flew by. What else? All of a sudden, nature just decided to come and show itself to me. Birds, and it's a couple of birds crawling around in the yard. And so that's what that was. What are people's responses? Oh, that witchcraft is just evil. That's like, why 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 do they just say that? Why do they? Hey, son, hold on, y'all, real quick. Hey, son. People always say, yeah, you know that witchcraft is evil. Well, so is the tongue. The tongue can be very powerful. People can wish stuff on you and wish bad and bad happen. Is that witchcraft? No, not no. Witchcraft is much more organized than that. It's much more complicated and sophisticated. I can imagine that witchcraft could have possibly saved those people. But they say witches are evil and witchcraft is evil. You know. Well, why is it that my heart felt it it didn't feel heavy or what I would call sick, but it just felt sad for just because you can't just go into depression over everything that you hear when you're an empath because it'll tear you down. You can't do that. But I did feel so much sadness for those people for a brief moment. Especially those kids. That's just really bad. Uh, Now here come a bumblebee. I'm going in the house because I can't. Y'all, every time I come out here, here come nature. I'm so glad I'm almost over this cold that I got. And I don't never get sick ever. Y'all, I don't ever get sick. I got sick. And it wasn't that I was sick, it just I was congested. And it might be like that because when I first got back home to Missouri, uh, I did go through that adjustment because, when you're going from one climate to another, you're going to feel kind of, off or whatever. And it usually affects my sinuses and stuff like that. Oh, now you're going to come over here by me. I'm going in. Y'all can have the outside for right now. I'll be back though. I'll be back. they like they like stay your ass in. No, but yeah, that was a curse and yes, that dude was possessed. I saw uh somebody super slide was asking, was he possessed? Absolutely. Treatment as a long-term chronic condition rather than a one-off prescription. Absolutely. Have access to medications including Novo Nordisk, Wegovy, and Eli Lilly. Okay. He was, and that's not giving him an excuse or a pass. I don't know why people always think that when we say stuff like that we're giving them an excuse or a pass for what they did because even if you're possessed by a spirit, you should know how to deal with that spirit and decipher what you would do versus that spirit. Now, the story that the news came up with saying that she was planning on leaving him or whatever, they was already possessed at that point. This think about it. This lady had 8 9 kids, 8 children, right? And some of the stuff that she posted, and I can't really quote her verbatim, but she got 8 kids, right? So why would you not want your helpmeet to help you with those kids? She's posting stuff like, and to me, it's a cry for help. I don't want somebody to come home to me and ask me what's for dinner, what we eating. I don't want somebody to, make plans with me. It was something that she said. I'll probably post it later. And it's like that. So what you want to be isolated? That's one of the first signs of a of like a curse. What I mean, what, that's what most women want. That's what most men. Don't nobody just want to be alone. The wanting to be alone, like, and I see a lot of people like that. I see a lot of people like that. I just want to be alone. That's an oppressive spirit. That's a curse. And you know, because okay, there may have been things and events that may have led you up to that, but because from what they say, Shamar showed up for his kids. He was always there. He was a good father. So what would make him snap all of a sudden and go there? Like we've been seeing cases like that through our whole life and hearing stuff like that happening. Is and I can tell you just to identify just the energy and the feeling that I'm getting from it is that it was a targeted curse because none of it made any sense. And so a lot of people will say, well, they just was mentally ill. But you keep saying that. You keep saying that they were just mentally ill. That's not a good enough explanation. And people need to quit accepting that they were just mentally ill. What? There's a lot of mentally ill people. They don't murder their whole family. They don't murder nobody. They don't do stuff like that. And from what I'm sensing from spirit is that even though, people in the community may have, I personally feel as though there was a lot of judgment against the mother because she had all them kids, and that a lot of people when they don't love on people until they gone, but those kids were not necessarily coveted by anybody except for their mother, because a lot of people will, and probably the grandparents, a lot of people will look at that many kids and be like, God damn, them is why she got all them kids. Trust me, I know. Well, my grandmother was different. My grandmother had 7 kids, and she wouldn't have never like everybody loved my grandmother. But it was obviously it's gonna be people that's gonna look at her with judgment, even though my grandmother was married. You know what I'm saying? So, people just are like that, especially when it comes to black folk. People just, oh, look at them niggas. And, I'm not saying that white people did it. I'm not saying that it's racism or anything like that. I'm not saying that at all. Uh, but because, these days, you get a lot of hate. Hate is internalized a lot with all races, right? It's just hate is just hate. But I do believe that it was definitely some kind of hit, and I believe it was born from the evil eye. It doesn't make any sense. And those people, in my humble opinion, did not have enough spiritual education, enough strength and knowledge to get that off of them, because any I see a lot of people posting in social media, oh, I just I wish I could find some of her social media posts, if they would post it and just read what she was saying. Well, first of all, you're not going to be alone anyway, lady. You got 8 kids. How you going to be alone? I just want to be alone. How? How and what happened to where you have produced and gave birth to all of these kids, and all of a sudden you want to be alone? And I never forget when I was raising my own children, okay, because I had 3 of them stair steps back to back. I even have a set of Irish twins. Both of my daughters were, okay, so I gave birth to Deja in March, And then that same year, 3 months later, I was pregnant with no, it was actually 6 weeks later. It was less than 2 months later. I was pregnant with Danielle. It was about, yeah, because Danielle was born in the same month as her, but that next year. And I never forget, there would be times when, because I always embraced my kids, I had no problems with staying home. I never felt like I didn't have a life. That was my life, and I loved it. I was at home with my babies, and I just spent all my time with them. You know what I'm saying? But I remember a few times just sensing this negative energy. And y'all know that I was born who I am, right? I was born this way, right? And so I would pick up on that and I'd be like, what is that? You know what I'm saying? And so needless to say, all four. Well, and then I had Jacob. Um, it's an age gap with him, but here we are, four kids later, and my family's still growing. You know what I'm saying? But that negative spirit, and then plus at that time, also, you know, we are largely protected by my grandmother. My grandmother's on both sides, actually, but is a lot of protection and love or whatever. So but it was just weird. I was like, you know what I'm saying? And so I would just do activities, with the kids and family, the movies and stuff, and it just, raising my kids was um and I was single. It wasn't hard for me. It wasn't for me personally. It wasn't. Even though I felt like it was a negative spirit that was trying to work to get to me, I wouldn't allow it. And I'm not going to get into like details about that, but it will go through family. So that's why sometimes when you're a mother and you got family and the family being all negative and stuff, that's all a curse. You know what I'm saying? Because why wouldn't you be celebrating life? What's up with the negativity? You know what I'm saying? That's weird. So, and it just, oh my goodness. So, I haven't had any of those cheering show up over here to me. That's not how it happens for me, and I'm a medium. But the just empathizing with the situation, all of those babies leaving like that, it's hard. And so somebody's seeing them to the other side. You know what I'm saying? Cause that that's hard. Cause even though they was little children, it still don't mean that they didn't want to live. Like they just didn't have no choice. And the father, apparently, Shamar, well, I guess it is a good thing that he didn't commit suicide. Suicide is not the easy way out though, because then he'd have to deal with the afterlife. But he's still alive, right, Stefan? I believe he is. He's not gone, and neither is she. Y'all know that I don't say things like, "Well, if that was me, if that was my baby daddy, that would never be my baby daddy. That would never be me. That would never be me ever." But hold on, let me look him up real quick. Yeah, he's still here. Yeah, thank you, Stefan. And then they arrested somebody that helped him get the gun, that helped him obtain the gun. It's just so sad. You know what I'm saying? I'm not looking deep into the story though, because there could be many, 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 many hand. That's me, that many kids. That's an energy sacrifice. That's a money play too. Because a lot of people are going to get paid off of that, you know? If I were a funeral home in the area, I would do all of the funeral processions for free. If I wouldn't even want a dime of that money. But you know what? I can't tell other people what to do. But it just all I gotta say is protect yourselves, man. But quit posting everything in social media. When you let people know, if somebody doing work on you, voodoo, hoodoo, because hoodoo can be evil too, black magic, if people are doing work on you, and religion can be evil too. Let's keep it real, okay? If somebody is doing work on you, wake up. You're posting things in social media to let them know that the shit's working. So when people think, there are some people that when they think they can play you, they will keep going with it. They will just keep it going. You know what I'm saying? And also, guns don't really kill people. It's not a gun problem. It's a spiritual problem. Unfortunately, this can happen when there is an expectation of ignorance. So, the you could even see when you watch the footage, when you look at the photographs of the father, when you look at any of the footage down there in Louisiana, you can see the spirits just flying around. You can just see them fly. I can. You can see it. It's like it's really, really, and a lot of them spirits are feeding on the pain, feeding on the suffering of the community. It's a big feeding frenzy. And I can promise you that them goddamn incubuses and succubuses are standing front in line, front and center, feeding off of all of it. They probably up in the lady's hospital bed, feeding off her. It just, and a lot of them things, I'm gonna tell you something. A lot of there are a lot of incubi and succubi. And I understand there are some witches, they'll say, well, no, they're helpful in certain things, not sexually, unless you are reversing something. But not all of them. I would say 99%, in my humble opinion, 99% of incubuses and succubuses are evil. There may be that small percentage that could help you with spirit work, but not many of them. Not not many of them. Those are some evil spirits because they don't understand us. And right about the time that happened is when I started talking about the incubi and the succubi. And a lot of people don't have an understanding of it. So when I start talking about it, I gotta go, y'all. I'm gonna get the rest of these readings done for the channel because business has to keep going. You know what I'm saying? We gotta keep going. But when it comes to them, stop thinking that a person that's walking around here in flesh and blood is an incubus or a succubus. No, they can possess people and they can even enchant people. But a person, incubuses and succubuses are almost like a fragment of the imagination. They are a part of the imagination. They are interdimensional. The dimension that they may come from, they might be physical. But when they come into this realm, they are spirits. They are like air. That's it. They're not physical. But they can and they do possess people all the time. Now, I'm not saying that the incubuses and succubuses possessed him. It seems like they did because supposedly he's married to her, but he got some other woman pregnant. So they may have been possessing him because that's what they produce. They produce infidelity. Okay. But I'm not really looking into it like that. I'm only taking an educated guess on it from what I know. But I do know for a fact that it was a curse. But people need to quit saying that. People need to stop saying, oh, and then also children that are born. Oh, that's a demonic child. You got that from the movie The Omen, and you didn't even really understand that movie anyway. All you see is a child that got 666 on its scalp, and you think what you think. But that wasn't the point or the purpose of that movie when you break it down. When you break it down, I'm gonna tell y'all straight up and down what it was. It was exposing the stupidity of the church. Is basically I didn't say Christians. I didn't say people who are followers of Christ, because Christ would not ever say murder that child. In that movie The Omen, they were trying to murder the child. Like when you look at it, it's like, what the hell are they doing? They walking around, they got these knives with these inscriptions in them, and they running around, these grown men of the church, trying to murder this child, right? So that, but some people are stupid, and they have a blind eye, and they'll say, oh well, this is an evil child, and you never know what he was thinking at that time. He might have been thinking the same thing too. We don't know what he was thinking. I'm not doing a proper reading. I don't really, I don't really like to get into stuff like that, and so I'm not, but he may have, you know what I'm saying? Been thinking that. And then plus, I don't like to do readings on stuff like that. I just like to educate. I am not ever, nor will I ever try to exploit what happened. So that's why y'all know how I feel about stuff like that. Like, it, you know, y'all don't do stuff like that. Okay. Especially to get clients and stuff, and attention. I just, no, thank you. No, thank you. I'd rather do it spiritually, organically, as far as like, with what I'm doing, because, so anyway, I'll see y'all later. I wish all of you guys peace and love and everything. All of y'all that are watching, thank you for the thumbs up. And I'll see y'all later. Make sure that y'all subscribe to the Witch's Broom channel, though, because if you're not on TikTok, like there's a lot of people that don't have the TikTok app. And if you do have it, you took it off your phone, because the TikTok app takes up a lot of data, and it slows your phones down. It takes up a lot of data. So I got 3 phones now, and I'm thinking about keeping I'm thinking about keeping TikTok just on one of my phones, because these processors don't really like TikTok. But anyway, so make sure y'all subscribe to the Witch's Broom channel, because that's where the readings that are on TikTok, or I'm gonna upload them to there, so I can delete them and get them out my phone, because I don't want to fill this phone up with a bunch of stuff that I gotta delete later. So anyway, all right. See y'all later. To those that I love you guys, to those that love me, okay? All right. Blessings to y'all. Bye-bye.